Hi, I'm Paul Germain, your host for Smart Boating. As you know, if you watched the show before, we cover a wide variety of topics from anchoring to navigation. And the general idea is to provide you with some information that will help you make smarter decisions and have more fun on the water. And today's show is really right up that alley. We're going to be talking about coatings and sealants and adhesives. And joining us is a very knowledgeable person in that area. Her name is Alexa Horsman. Alexa,
hi, Paul. Thanks
welcome.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming. We've got a cool show here today. It's something that most boaters get involved in every year, and I think they're going to learn a lot. But before we get into it, can you share a little bit about your background in boating and background in this field?
Absolutely. I grew up boating my whole life, been in this industry. And then I worked in yachting for a few years, and then I worked for a paint application company in Georgia where we painted super yachts, tops and bottoms. And then I moved up to Maine and got this job at Pettit.
Wow, that's a lot of experience. Well, that's perfect for the show today, so why don't we get right into it?
Sounds great.
Well, Alexa, you know, this is the time of year where all the boaters are in high gear, getting ready for the water. And there's a lot of different products that they can use. And so we're going to show people a sampling of those today. So more families of different things that have come along that make their job easier. And I thought what we'd do is maybe what I do, I visualize like an older boat, say like a 2015 20-foot Mako with a four-stroke on it. And it's been a few years, and they say, oh, it would look a lot better if I spruced it up a little bit. So they could paint it. So I thought we'd show people, you've got these one-part polyester paints, right?
Polyurethane, yes.
Polyurethane paints, right? Which are become pretty easy to apply and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Could you show us how that would work?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you're going to want to make sure for the older boats that you have a good base.
Yeah.
If things are chipping off, cracked, you're going to want to make sure to remove any loose debris.
Okay.
Clean it up, sand it, and then prime it.
I
So right
see.
now this is
Okay.
already pre-primed.
Okay.
I did this a few days ago, and then you sand it quick, but right before you paint, clean it really well. You can even use a tack rag to get all the dust off.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to minimize as many pieces of dust and particles in there as possible so you get that nice shine.
All right. And we're sanding it to give it some grip, I
Yes,
guess, so
yeah.
it can get some traction,
You
right?
need something for the paint to latch onto.
Yes, yes. Okay.
So that's already done.
All
and
right.
so I have our Easy Epoxy. This is electric sapphire paint here.
Yeah, that's pretty bright.
I'm going to try not to make a mess here on the lip,
Go
so I have a
ahead.
little
Yeah, go
trick.
ahead. All right. Oh, very tricky.
I don't need too
So
much.
you're just pulling a little paint up and
Yeah.
then you're scraping it off.
And
on
this
the
keeps the lip
tray.
of the can nice and clean. Oops.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's usually quite a mess.
Yeah.
All right, so we got the
And
paint.
then just going to do that. And now the lip of the can is nice and clean.
Nice. Okay.
And so the method for Easy Epoxy is called rolling and tipping.
Okay.
So you roll it out,
All right.
and then you take a brush and you just dip the very tip of it in, which I'll show you, and you wipe away any impurities.
Okay. So you pick some up and then you roll a little off. So you're trying to get
Yep.
it so it's not too
Yeah,
saturated, I guess.
absolutely.
Kind of thin.
You want enough where you're not going back to the tray frequently,
Yes.
but you don't want it dripping off the
Okay.
roller.
All right. You rub it back and forth a few times.
So I'm just going to start here.
And is this do you know what nap this is? Is this a certain
This is a
type of-
foam roller.
It's a foam roller.
And so I'm going to cross hatch this as well.
Okay. Well, why do you do that? Get even coverage
Even
or
coverage,
something?
yes, sir.
And how much of a section would you do at a time?
This is a small board, but if you're doing your boat, you don't want to do more than arm's reach
Arm's reach.
for rolling and tipping,
Okay.
yes.
And that would be at, say, 60 or 70 degrees ambient temperature?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah,
You
the
talk
warmer
about
the
that
better. Paint likes
footprint.
heat.
Yeah.
No colder than 50, but I like to say 55 just to be safe.
That's the ambient temperature. And then
Yes.
is it important to bear in mind what the likely temperature of the hull is? In other words,
Yeah.
if you've been in midwinter snows for the first half of the week,
Yeah. You want
That's probably not a good time to be painting, right?
absolutely. You want like 3 days of over 50-degree weather.
Oh,
And
okay.
then if it's a nice warm day, but you touch your boat and that's still cold,
Yes.
especially if it's like a metal boat that holds on to that cold for a long period of time,
Right.
you're going to want this surface temperature to also warm up before you paint.
Oh, okay. All right.
And so you see I rolled it out. You can see the air
Yes.
bubbles in it.
I can, yes.
So
Mhm.
with the brush, well, the goal of that is you're going to kind of lay down. So you're not adding product with the brush.
Okay.
You're just smoothing it out.
Now, do you need a certain type of brush for that? Certain bristle, or is there anything special about the brush?
Higher quality is best,
Yes.
but whatever works for you.
Okay.
Something that's not going to release the fibers too much, something
Right,
clean. And
right.
you can see how all the bubbles went away.
Really smoothed out. Yeah, I'm surprised. Actually.
And then
yeah.
as it dries, it
Yeah.
self-levels.
Oh, it does. Okay, but this helps it along its way. Yeah. Okay.
And so,
And
then
do you,
I
sorry, you
finished
just
my...
go in a motion that was from left to right or
Yeah.
something. You just go in one direction. Is that the
Yes.
idea?
Yeah, because you want it to all be the same once you finish.
Okay.
And so you see how nicely that's laying out?
Yes.
And then I can just keep going. So they call this the wet edge. You want to overlap your wet edge
Oh, okay.
slightly, not
Yeah.
too much.
All right.
And so I'm going back in with my roller. Across.
Yeah.
You don't want to pour the paint directly from the can onto the surface.
Oh no.
It doesn't come out evenly.
Oh, okay.
See, I'm going to cross hatch this again. You see the difference between the brush, like after I brushed it?
Yes, that's
And then
really
just the
laying
roller.
down there, right?
And again, I'm going to take my brush, just enough product that the tip is wet,
Okay.
but we're not adding product at this stage. And then I just go right across.
Do you have to avoid like really high temperatures? Like if it's 90 degrees out, does that kind of work against you in terms of it just
Yeah.
cures too quickly? Doesn't give you the chance to do this process?
We don't recommend direct sunlight
Okay.
if you can avoid it. Like if you're doing your whole boat and you're working the whole day,
Yep.
you can kind of move around the boat based on where the sun is.
Follow the sun,
Yeah,
right?
follow
right.
the sun.
Right.
And there you have it.
Oh, that looks beautiful. And this is, again, it's pretty easy to put on, as you
Very
said.
easy.
And very durable, right? Because
Yep.
of the nature of the paint that it is.
It's a single stage, high gloss. It has a great UV protection. It'll last for years and be nice and shiny. And it dries hard, nice and hard. And you can also add, there's an enhancer you can add to it as well that extends the longevity of it, makes it a little bit harder, makes it a little shinier.
Oh, I see.
So right now it's an air cured product. The enhancer turns it into a chemically cured product. So
Oh,
it just gives a
okay.
little bit of strength.
Right. Well, it looks really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Alexa, historically paints always came in a can, right? And recently some of the advancements have included putting coatings into aerosol format, and you've got a can there. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that may be similar and or different from it being in a can?
Yeah, so it's the exact same paint in an aerosol form.
Okay.
It makes it really nice and easy for small projects, hard to reach places. You're not going to want to do a whole boat with this.
Yeah.
But if you have like louvers or something, it's hard to get a brush or a roller in there.
Yeah.
This is perfect to use.
Right,
And
right.
boot stripes. Instead of having
okay.
doing your whole boat with a brush and a roller,
Yeah.
you can just spray it right on.
Oh.
And that's what I kind of simulated here.
Okay,
So
all
you
right.
shake it up super, super well for a good few minutes.
Yeah, and again, are we looking for a certain ambient temperature, which is better than another, like 55
Over 50,
to 65?
yeah. The warmer the paint loves heat.
Okay,
So
all right.
the ideal temperature is going to be like 65 to 70.
Yep.
But here in Maine, that's not always the case, or
Yeah.
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, they're very similar. And then, okay.
So-
And is there a certain distance away from the surface to hold the can to get the right spray
You're going to
pattern?
want a good 6 inches.
6 inches, okay.
Nice and even.
All right.
But the first spray I'm going to do is going to be into the trash, because in the
Okay.
tube there's going to be some solvent
Yeah,
trapped.
yeah.
And you just don't want that in your paint. So right in the
clear it
trash
a little
there,
bit, okay.
cleared it out.
Okay.
And then nice and easy, just nice flow.
Okay, and do you overlap a little bit? That's
Yep.
what you're doing? Yeah. Yep, so you're 6 inches, back and forth, back and forth.
And there you go.
All
That's
right.
easy as that.
And how long do you have to wait for it to set typically?
Till What's actually helpful is that there is paint here because you want to be touch dry, and so you don't want to put your finger on your paint job, so you can actually use the tape to decide when it's touch dry.
All right, all right.
You see, it's great coverage with just one coat.
Very good coverage, yeah. But if you had to do another coat, would you typically wait like an hour or two or a day? Or?
You're going to want it to dry.
Yes.
Give it a nice light sand, and then go again.
Oh, sand between coats with 400, 320, something like that. Pretty.
Yeah, something light,
light.
nothing aggressive. Yeah.
So lay it on, let it cure, sand, final coat. Yeah. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Okay, looks good.
Thank you.
Well, Alexa, you know, when I was growing up, the boats were all wood, and in particular, my first boat was all mahogany decks, seats. That was the way they did it. It was all mahogany varnish. It was a lot of work, to be honest with you. You know, you sanding and varnishing, sanding, and then water would get underneath it, it would bleach, and you know, not as much wood these days, but there still is some. I see it a lot on dinghies or really high-end boats like a Hinckley or something like that. I thought we'd tell people a little bit about what's transpired in that. I'm holding a brush and a can of a Captain's Varnish here, and again, that's the traditional way of doing it, right? What are kind of the benefits? What are the trade-offs with the traditional way? One is it's a lot of work, but
it is a lot of work.
Is there anything else that's notable between these cans and the
aerosols?
The aerosol that you have?
For the cans are going to be for large projects. Like if you have an entire cap rail of a boat.
Yes.
Or where you need a high build, if you want to do a lot of layers, thicker layers.
Okay.
You're going to want to do the traditional brushing on the varnish.
You are.
Because this Captain's Varnish aerosol, it's the same as in there, but it's a bit thinner so that it can spray. So if you're doing a large project or you need a lot of build, you're still going to use the regular traditional varnish.
Gonna go with this, right?
Yeah, and the aerosol though is great for rounded surfaces like this handle here. Louvers, hard to reach places where you can't necessarily get a brush in there, you can just spray it on.
Yeah, and even within this, I think there's different grades of it in terms of its ability to fight UV rays, right? Which, you know, again, people may say, well, I can get by with the more economical one because I'm going to be in the shade typically, right? I'm not going to have, but if they've got areas that are exposed to the salt and the sun, probably better to invest a few extra dollars in the higher end varnish, right?
So the Captain's does have great UV protection, but we also have our flagship varnish that has a bit stronger UV protection, high builds too, so you can get those layers in quickly, and it has a little bit of a darker color as well.
Okay. And a brush, how important is it? And is there a certain type of brush that people should think about when they're putting on varnish?
Yeah, you definitely want to use a high-end brush that, because you're trying to minimize brush marks.
Right.
And for varnish, you're just going to be brushing.
Right.
So a nice high-end, you want to make sure that the bristles don't break down and that they're not going to come out. So try to invest in a good brush.
Okay. All right. Well, you've got the aerosol here. Can you demonstrate how that works? We've
Sure.
got a couple. We've got a rail and a teak step pad, if you will.
So I already shook this for a few minutes.
That's important.
Before. You got to shake it. And the same with the Easy Epoxy aerosol, the first spray into the trash because there's a solvent in the tube that you can't shake out.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
And now we're ready to go.
Okay.
So nice sweeping layers.
Okay. So similar to painting in that way? Keep it a certain distance and keep it moving?
Yeah. Because if you sit in one spot and just spray it, you're going to get a run.
Right.
It's just going to run.
Right. Okay, so you've sprayed it. So the ambient temperature here is 70 roughly. How long would that take to set up? An hour or two? Or?
It's probably going to take a bit longer. For touch dry, it might be dry enough. But to give it a sand and recoat, you're going to sometimes let it sit overnight.
Oh, okay. So that's typically the process.
Yeah.
You sand it, varnish it with the aerosol, sand it again.
Yep.
So basically it's a two-coat process.
Or I would say even more. With varnish, you do a lot of coats with varnish.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to want to spray it, let it sit, light sand, and then just keep going until you have the layering that you want. The more layers, the more UV protection.
Okay. All right. Well, it looks pretty easy.
Yeah.
It comes out pretty well.
Yes.
You know, in recent years, different types of adhesives and sealants have come a long ways. You know, in the old days, you want to fix something, you say, oh, we're really going to fix it big time here. We're going to put epoxy. But you had to get these things and mix them around and try to get it before it flashed. And oh my God. So the marine industry's moved forward in that way, right?
Absolutely.
And you have some different products that, again, some of the other guys have too, but it's a family thing. Something like what was
We have Easy Fair,
Easy Fair,
which is for smoothing out the surfaces, cracks, dents before you paint over top of it.
Okay.
We have our Splash Zone, which we call the duct tape of the marine world. It works like a putty, and you mold it into a hole or crack or whatever.
Okay.
And it dries really, really hard, and you can drill and tap it.
We could put it into these holes here and fill those. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then this one is Flexpoxy, which is another filler that has a little bit of flexibility to it. So it still dries hard and you can still drill and tap it, but it's for areas where maybe other epoxies might crack often, where there might vibrations and flexibility.
So all those products are epoxies, but they have some different properties to them, some different applications, right?
Yeah, depending on what you need.
Yeah. So this one, as you say, it sounds like it says Flexpoxy, but it sounds like it's very flexible in terms of application. It's going to be used in a lot of different places.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I were we're going to show a demo in a second, but if I were going to replace I've got a bunch of snaps for my cover and some of them pulled out, what would be the right product for that to fill the hole and then put the snap back in? Would it be this Flexpoxy or would it be one of the other products?
I would say maybe Splash Zone would be better. It's stronger because you're going to get a lot of pull on the snaps.
Okay.
And the Splash Zone is going to be stronger.
I see. Okay. All right. So let's see how this works here. It's got one of the neat things here is it's got a dispenser which actually does away with the need to do any personal mixing, right?
Yes. So instead of having two different containers that you have to scoop out and mix yourself, this, you just squeeze it for the caulking gun.
Looks like a toothpaste almost.
Yeah, it does.
You know?
And you can see, so you have the exact ratio that you need without having to measure it yourself. It does it for you.
Yeah.
So you squeeze out as much as you think you need.
Okay.
You can clean that up and put the cap back on.
All right. So you can use it a half year from now. It doesn't lock up like Fort Knox.
No.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
So I closed it back up there. Yeah. And then I'm just going to take my scraper and you're going to keep and just mix it all together.
So you're looking for a certain color? Are they supposed to turn into a certain color?
You want all the purple to go away.
Oh, really?
So we're going to mix until all the purple is gone. And it's just
Is it going to get clear or another color?
You can see it's already gotten mostly clear.
Right, it gets absorbed in there.
So when all the purple is gone, that's when you know it's good to go. If you still see purple streaks or purple in there, it's not going to perform as you want it to.
Yeah.
So you see now it's clear?
Yes.
So you can take it with your thing here and just fill the hole.
Okay.
Nice and smooth. If you have like a really deep hole you're trying to fill and it's going to take a really thick amount of it, do it in layers.
Oh, okay.
So do thin layers.
Yeah.
This is shallow enough where this is fine.
Yeah.
But you're going to want to let it fully dry. But if it's a really large area, let it dry, give it a sand, overcoat.
A couple things. Again, ambient temperature, 65, 70 is good. Get much hotter than that. Does it kick fast on you? Or?
You can apply this as low as 40.
Okay.
So this is, this one's a little bit
forgiving.
Forgiving, yeah. So as low as 40, and you'll be fine. It's just going to take longer to dry.
Okay. And then when I come back here to sand this, if it's a deep hole, then I got to do the second layer. Again, I don't know, 100, maybe 100 grit, 150 grit?
Say 220.
220? Okay. All right. Light sanding.
And then overcoat.
And it's going to dry clear, right?
Yes, yeah.
Like
well,
this
it's a bit opaque.
Bit opaque, similar to this one here.
You can see it's kind of milky. That's the Easy Fair that I filled this hole with. So it just needs to dry and then you sand it and it'll be nice and smooth.
I see.
So that's gray. And then this Flexpoxy is going to dry. It's like a little milky.
Now, am I ready to paint at that point, or do I have to rough up the surface, or how do I apply paint to that?
Yeah, so you rough up the surface a bit. Well, if you want to make this whole panel look the same color, just again, light sanding, prime, paint.
Okay. Okay. Great. That's like useful stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, there's been a lot of advancements in the marine industry, particularly in this area, and they really, I think, make a boater's life easier and better. my boat, when I think about it's got chocks and cleats and bow rails and all that, it's all attached to the surface. And of course, particularly with the newer boats, a lot of them are cored. So you want to make sure that no water follows the rail down to the screw, down to the fitting, into the core. So can you tell us a little bit about what's cooking in the area, sealants, and what might help boaters in that area?
Sure. So this is our AnchorTech. This is for the top sides. It's a UV resistant sealant that you can paint over as well.
Okay.
It comes in white. This one's a white color, but you can change the color if you'd like. And then we also have our premium fast dry for above and below the water line.
Okay.
So if you're trying to stick something to the hull.
Yes. So how easy is this to use? I guess you just unscrew the
You
cap,
unscrew
right?
it. I already, you cut the tip off. I've already done
Yep,
that.
yep.
When you first squeeze it, it's going to look a little clear at the end.
Okay.
Just push that to the side
Oh,
until
okay.
you see
All
the
right.
white.
All right.
And then I already pre-drilled I lined up and pre-drilled the holes.
All right.
And so we're just going to apply the caulking
So all the way around,
all the
where
way
the holes
around.
are and where the...
You want to apply a lot because
You do.
it's gonna ooze out, but then you're
Okay.
gonna clean it up.
Okay.
And then we are going to line this up right here. There we go.
Okay.
And then you use your finger or whatever you want, and you can clean up around the edges.
Okay.
So it's a nice and smooth all the way around. That's why you kind of want it to ooze out a little bit, so that you can get that nice.
So no water gets underneath
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Yep.
Just like that. And then I have the screws here. Put it right into the...
So again, this seems like a very mundane thing, but again, it's so easy to get leaks started around the fittings, and it also lends itself to a regular maintenance program, quite frankly.
Oh, I don't have... It's not quite going in there.
That's okay.
That's okay.
We know what we're doing here. You
Well,
set it up, you put plenty of caulk around
Yep.
it, you put it down, and then you secure it to the screws.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the nice thing about AnchorTech is it is a thicker caulking. So if we needed to go up this, it's going to stay in place.
Okay.
So if you're trying to fasten something, say, to the hull, and you have to stick it on, and then you have to run around the boat to put the fasteners in the other end,
Yes.
it'll still be there.
Oh, that's good.
So that's what's nice about
That's
AnchorTech.
good. Yeah, that really works well. Well, bottom painting, I think you could refer to as a bane and a benefit. You know, it's a benefit because it keeps all the growth off the hull. It's a bane because everyone spends weekends on their back trying to get the old stuff off. But I thought we'd show people a little bit about what's going on in this area. I've got a sander in my hand. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I think it's important to figure out the right paint for the application, right? Can you just give a very quick overview of the paint families and when they work best?
Absolutely. So we have hard paints and ablative paints. Here we have our Trinidad XSR. This is a multi-season hard paint. This is our Hydrocoat. It's water-based ablative. And then we have our HRT Eco, which I mentioned earlier. This is the gallon version of the spray.
Okay.
That's a copper-free solvent-based product. The difference between the hard and the ablatives, the hard, it's a hard paint. It sticks on there. It doesn't come off. Ablative paint is soft, so it's almost like a bar of soap running underwater. The top layers come off. So even if you do experience some growth, as you move through the water, it's going to slowly come off. And what's great about the Hydrocoat and the ablative paints is you don't get that buildup where you have to spend weekends trying to sand all the way back down like you would with the hard paint. It's naturally going to come off, so you don't get a lot of buildup.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we picked like a popular, like a Hydrocoat, the Eco that is copper-free.
Yep.
That's a very popular paint. So let's say you pick the paint and go to the boat. The first thing you do typically is you got to sand it. I use this very tool actually with 80 grit. Is that a good way to get started?
Yeah, so there's, whether you're painting over existing paint or a brand new bottom, it's important. You can put a soft paint over soft paint. a soft paint over a hard, but you can't put a hard over a soft.
Okay.
So that's important to know
Yep.
what you're starting with.
You're mixing and matching. Yep.
So if you know what you're starting with, great. If not, Hydrocoat's also great for that as well. It's the most compatible paint out there. If you don't know what's on your boat and you want to make sure that it sticks,
Yeah.
Hydrocoat's a great option.
Go with that. Okay.
So, and then if you're starting with a brand new bottom, whether it's fiberglass, gel coat, wood,
Yeah.
if you want to do, bottom paint doesn't prevent water intrusion.
Right.
It naturally, water is supposed to flow through it to release the biocides. So if you want to prevent blistering with fiberglass or gel coat, you can always put an epoxy barrier coat like Petaprotect down first.
Okay. All right.
And then you sand that,
And that.
and then you can apply your bottom paint.
Okay. All right. So let's show people how this works. So
Sure.
you take that tray. Let's say this is the bottom.
Yep.
And again, we would have, if it's a new boat, we would have de-waxed it, right?
Definitely want to de-wax. That's an important thing to know.
That causes paint to fleck off.
And you want to
right?
de-wax before you sand. Because if you
Okay,
sand
right.
before you de-wax, you're actually embedding the wax into the sand marks,
Yeah.
and your paint will fall off.
Okay, so de-wax, sand with 80 grit,
Yep.
make sure it's clean, maybe fair in the edges where you got stuff that's flaked off. And then a special roller from standard point of low naps, short nap, right?
Yes,
Very
so
short.
you want to do 3/16 nap, or you can do a 1/4 inch nap. What's important with doing a small roller
Yep.
is if you put on the layer really, really thick,
Yep.
you get this thing called mud cracking,
Yes.
where the top of the paint dries before the inside of the paint does,
Yep.
and that solvent's going to try to pop out,
Yes.
and it's going to crack.
Yes.
So here in New England, I know people like to do one coat,
Yeah.
and they'll try to roll it on really thick.
Yeah,
It's
right,
better
right.
to do 2 thin coats than 1 thick coat
Okay,
for the longevity of your paint.
all right.
And so I have a smaller roller here
Yeah.
with our Hydro Coat.
Yeah.
It's great because we're inside here and we're not it smells like house paint almost.
Yeah.
So it's great if you're painting inside in the winter because it does have an indefinite relaunch period.
Oh,
If you
okay,
pull
yeah.
your boat out in the fall, clean it up, power wash it, you can actually paint it, store it, and then launch it in
Oh.
the spring.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then you just roll it right on.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure you don't see any more. So this is not quite sanded how it's supposed
no, it's
to.
not. No, it's just
but
our
this
demo board. Yeah. Yeah.
you can see, and then you're going to want to make sure you get good, nice coverage. I like to do a crosshatch.
Okay, you do both ways. Okay.
Yeah.
And you do a small area like that, I don't know, a couple feet.
Yeah, and you
2
just
feet
keep
by 2
going
feet.
because you're just rolling.
Yeah.
So you're not rolling and tipping, so you can just keep going until you're
Right.
done.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. And would you typically put like a couple coats around what they call the smile, the water line? Is that a good idea? Because you're getting a lot of abrasion there.
Yep.
Maybe more so than some of the other areas.
Yeah, so that's a great spot for an extra coat or anywhere that gets where maybe you see that your paint's wearing down really quickly
Yes.
on like the keel or somewhere that's getting a lot of friction with the water. So you can
Yes.
add extra coats there so that it lasts longer.
Okay. So clean the surface.
De-wax,
Sand it well
sand, yep.
to give it grip. Use a low short nap. Give it a thin coat. Go back with another one. Those are the
Yeah.
keys to making the bottom paint stay on and do its job, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, this is an important area. We've covered a lot of ground today. Sealants, coatings, paints. Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up the show today?
I just want to thank you for inviting me onto the show. We covered a lot of topics that every boater is going to be going through in the spring. And if anyone has any more questions or wants to learn more about the products, you can visit petitpaint.com.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Smart Boating viewers, for joining us. If you have any comments or questions, please see our website, www.smartboatingus.com. Thank you.